James Melendez. This wine is next. This is from the producer Alloro Vineyards. Now this wine is a reserve wine called Riservata Pinot Noir, Chehalem Mountains, 2018 vintage. Stay tuned and I'll tell you about this expression of Pinot Noir from Chehalem Mountains. Stay tuned. So I've done two reviews. I've done the Chardonnay as well as their non-reserve Pinot Noir wine. I'll place those videos right up here in the YouTube cards. I love the name because it refers to Alloro. It's an Italian word for laurel. So I like the name of this producer. I'll show you up close actually. And so this does differ just slightly from the non-reserve wine Alloro Vineyards and the Riservata. Now you see here the laurel leaf and the laurel flowers from the laurel tree. And that really refers to the laurel wood series of soil composition on the 110 acre site. So I think it's a really amazing, gorgeous wine. And I love the word alloro because it reminds me of a word I use in Italian a lot, which is allora. And that means so, then, well. So I'm going to say allora, alloro. Then there is Alloro Vineyards. So this is a just gorgeous wine because I think it's a nice expression, and there's several things going on here that I think are really nice and unique. So if you are in Portland, you should visit Chehalem Mountains. I'll place a map right here so you can see where Chehalem Mountains is. Compared to say, if you're in San Francisco and you want to go to Napa or Sonoma, it's a little more of a trek, in my opinion, because you've got to cross some bridges, and here you don't have to do that. And I just find the traffic to be a lot more agreeable to me when I travel to Portland or travel to Oregon in general. So I think this is a really, great example of how Pinot Noir is just so special and just is a different Pinot Noir than you get from expressions in other parts of the United States or even around the world. So I think what also makes a difference on this wine is the winemaker. Now the winemaker is Tom Fitzpatrick. He's educated in Burgundy, a great place to be educated, right? As well as UC Davis. So some great pedigree education, and of course, that's how you cultivate amazing Pinot Noir. And the proprietor is David Namarnik. Now the site is 450 to 600 feet above sea level, which is about 137 to 182 meters above sea level. And the soil type is called Laurelwood series. Again, the word comes through again in terms of the name of the vineyard site. So instead of being called Laurel or Laurelwood, it is called Alloro. I love that word and I love Italian. So now this is a composition of 49% Pommard. I'm going to compare and contrast this with the non-reserve wines so you get an idea. Now this is from select blocks on the site itself. Now this is something that this producer does. They list by percentage the amount of clonal expression or clonal identity per wine. Now I think that's really cool. It shows an immaculate record keeping, which I think is fantastic. They note as a percentage each of the contributing factors of the clonal identity per wine. So I'm going to compare and contrast this with a reserve to non-reserve wine so you can compare that and understand there is a difference between these two wines. So this is going to have a composition of 49% Pommard on the reserve, and on the non-reserve it's going to be 35%. 777 is utilized, and that's 31.5% on the reserve wine, 37% on the non-reserve wine. 16% of 114, non-reserve is 23%. So 114 is 16%, non-reserve is 23%. Wadensfeld is utilized at 3.5%, while on the non-reserve it is at 5%. Now this is a 14.2% ABV wine. So the vinification of this wine is it's sorted and destemmed, 5 to 7 day cold soak, native yeast, warm fermentation, native ML, 11 months in French oak at 46% new. Now that does differ from the non-reserve wine, which is about, I believe, 27% new. So that is another contributing factor to this wine being a different wine compared to the non-reserve. And so I think there's a distinction that I wanted to bring out to you as well. So we're going to talk next about the nose characterization, followed by the palate characterization, and then the point score. So what I like about this wine is I'm not getting a notation only of fruit, which I think is great, right? You want to have other things going on in your wine. So this is a bit of fruit, savory, and red floral as well. So this is giving you a notation of tart bean cherry notes, as well as pomegranate, bit of graphite note, as well as a bit of espresso, which I think is also enlivening, as well as fresh red roses. Glorious. And next, the palate characterization. Gorgeously balanced, and I think it's a very nice expression. Now, while there's some similar notes on the nose compared to the palate, the acidity is just so bright and vibrant, and it's almost difficult to talk after tasting this, but I think that's a good thing, right? It means in terms of great for pairing for food, good for aging, and just good for the overall experience of the wine. So this is a very superbly well-constructed wine, very nicely balanced, and just a nice construction of the wine altogether. So notes of tart red cherry, a bit of cassis note, pepper, mineral, and bay leaf. So I get a lot of notes going on here, and I think it's just so sophisticated, beautiful. This is a 95-point wine out of 100 points. So down below, questions and comments, more information on the producer will be listed. This is where the like button is, so please give a like. I'd really appreciate that. And then also, subscribe button is there, so please hit that button to see the latest videos that I'm producing. If you've hit that button already, thank you so much, and salute to you, cheers. And so more reviews to come. Now you can find me on the following social medias between videos. You'll find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and WordPress. Have a conversation there, a question there, or just a comment. And you'll also find me on my podcast, which is on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video. Salute.